For more than 4 decades, the federal government quietly reduced or completely wiped out Social Security checks for millions of Americans, using two rules buried so deep in the system that most people affected never even knew they existed. Over 3 million people had their monthly benefit cut. Hundreds of thousands of widows and widowers didn't just see a smaller check. Their entire survivor benefit was reduced to zero, not lowered, gone. Those two rules are dead now. They were wiped off the books, and the government owes back payments to the people they hurt for years. Some of those payments are already landing in bank accounts. Some are still sitting untouched, waiting for someone to actually go claim them. By the end of this video, you'll know exactly which group you fall into, how much money could be sitting there with your name on it, and the specific steps that actually get it released. If you've ever worked for the government, in a school, a fire department, a police force, or any public job that didn't pull Social Security taxes out of your paycheck, stay until the end. This affects you more than you think. Let's start with what these two rules actually were. The first one was called the Windfall Elimination Provision, or WEP for short. Here's exactly who it hit. If you spent part of your career working a public sector job that had its own separate pension system, meaning Social Security taxes were never taken out of those paychecks, but you also worked other jobs during your life where you did pay into Social Security, WEP stepped in and shrank your Social Security benefit. It used a different formula than everyone else, one that assumed your Social Security earnings shouldn't count as much, simply because you also had that other pension. The more years you spent in that non-covered job, the bigger the cut. On average, people lost around $480 a month because of this rule. And that wasn't a one-time hit. It followed them every single month for the rest of their retirement. The second rule was called the Government Pension Offset, or GPO. This one didn't target workers directly. It targeted spouses, and especially widows and widowers. If you were supposed to receive a spousal or survivor benefit based on your husband or wife's Social Security record, but you personally received a government pension from a job that didn't pay into Social Security, GPO took 2/3 of your pension amount and subtracted it directly from that spousal or survivor benefit. Picture a pension of $1,500 a month. 2/3 of that is $1,000. If your survivor benefit was, say, $900, that $1,000 subtraction didn't just shrink it, it erased it completely. $0 from a record your spouse paid into for decades, specifically so you'd be protected if something happened to them. For 40-plus years, lawmakers tried to kill these two rules. Hundreds of bills were introduced across both parties, session after session. Teachers' unions, firefighter associations, police organizations, and federal employee groups testified, lobbied, and pushed for repeal, year after year after year. None of it passed. Decade after decade, the cuts just kept happening. Then, in January 2025, that finally changed. The Social Security Fairness Act was signed into law, and it eliminated both WEP and GPO completely, not phased out, not reduced, fully repealed. And here's the part that matters most for your wallet. The law was made retroactive to January 2024. That means the Social Security Administration owes every affected person the full difference between what they actually received and what they should have received, going all the way back to the start of 2024. So what does that actually look like in dollars? By early March 2025, the SSA had already paid out more than $7.5 billion in retroactive lump sums to over 1 million people, with the average one-time payment landing around $6,710. On top of that lump sum, ongoing monthly checks went up too, and for plenty of people whose survivor benefit was completely wiped out by GPO, the math works out very differently. Someone who lost an $1,800 monthly survivor benefit entirely could be looking at a retroactive payment well over $20,000, plus that full benefit restored permanently, every single month going forward. Now here's the part nobody wants to admit out loud. Not everyone got their correction automatically, and not everyone got it right. The SSA had millions of individual accounts to review and adjust, and they processed them in batches, which means some cases simply sat near the bottom of the pile for months. If your case landed there, you kept collecting your old, reduced amount, with no letter, no phone call, and no obvious explanation telling you anything had changed. The SSA's own internal watchdog flagged this exact issue as a real concern. Plenty of people still haven't received their full correction, and most of them have no idea. There are also people who received their one-time retroactive lump sum, but whose ongoing monthly payment is still quietly running on the old reduced formula. And there's an even more important group, widows and widowers, whose survivor benefit was completely eliminated by GPO. In a lot of those cases, there was never an approved claim sitting on file to correct in the first place because the original application was outright denied years ago. If there's nothing approved to fix, the system has nothing to automatically adjust. That correction simply doesn't happen on its own. So let's break down exactly who this applies to. Group 1. You worked as a public school teacher in a state where teacher pensions weren't covered by Social Security, and at some point in your life, you also worked other jobs where you did pay into Social Security. Group 2, you worked as a firefighter, police officer, or any state or local government employee under a similar non-covered pension system, while also having Social Security covered work somewhere else in your career. Group 3, you're a federal employee hired before 1984 under the old civil service retirement system rather than the newer FERS system. Group 4. You're a widow or widower whose spousal or survivor benefit was reduced or completely eliminated because you receive a government pension. If you fall into any one of those 4 groups, this law applies directly to you, and there may be real money attached to your account that hasn't been claimed yet. Here's what to actually do about it. Step 1. Log into your personal Social Security account at ssa.gov. If you don't have one yet, set it up. You'll just need your Social Security number and an email address, and it only takes a few minutes. Once you're in, pull up your benefit statement and compare your current monthly amount to what it was before 2025. If it hasn't changed and you know WEP or GPO used to apply to your case, your correction likely hasn't gone through yet. Step 2. Call the Social Security Administration directly and ask them plainly whether your account has been fully reviewed and corrected under the Social Security Fairness Act for WEP or GPO. Ask for a clear status, closed, pending, or not yet assigned, and if it's pending, ask for an expected time frame. If you believe your case is closed but the number still looks wrong, ask for a formal reconsideration of your record. Step 3 is specifically for widows and widowers, and it's the one people miss most often. If your survivor benefit was completely eliminated rather than just reduced, don't assume the system automatically fixed it. Ask directly whether your situation requires filing a brand new survivor benefit application, since a benefit that was denied outright rather than reduced may have nothing on file for the system to correct. In cases like that, you have to apply again to actually receive what you're owed. For more than 40 years, this money came out of people's pockets through 2 rules most of them never even knew were there. Those rules are gone now, the back payments are real, and the average correction is worth thousands of dollars, sometimes tens of thousands for widows and widowers who lost everything under GPO. But none of it shows up automatically just because the law changed. It only moves when someone actually goes and checks. If you know someone over 60 who worked in teaching, firefighting, police work, or any other public service job, or any widow or widower collecting a survivor benefit, send this to them today. It might be the difference between a check that's still sitting there waiting and one that actually shows up in their account.